Welcome back to Banger TV. I'm Daniel DK, and today I'm chatting with Dino Cazares from Fear Factory. We are discussing their 10th studio album, Aggression Continuum, how it almost didn't happen, and what the future holds for the band.
So what part of Canada are you guys from?
We're in Toronto.
Oh, yeah, man. Fucking no doubt, eh?
Fuck, bud. Don't you know? We're going to do a quick little interview here. It's going to be a blast. We'll talk about some tunes.
I love the accent. You got to remember that I've been working with the Canadians for a while now.
Oh, dude, I know Riz, man. Oh yeah, I know that. I'm telling you, I'm stoked after years of listening to you, and
I'm very happy to be here, finally talking to Banger fucking TV.
Hell yes, and we are stoked to have you. You know, it's not every day. We interview a lot of artists, but it's not every day I get to talk to someone who has such a lush and legendary career as you. So instead of punishing you, asking about cliff notes on 30 years of playing in bands, I kind of want to get to know you by, I pulled a quote off your Twitter and it really struck me, and I was hoping you could elaborate on it. Creating music got me through some really hard times, as well as getting me into some very hard times. That one really struck me. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Well, obviously, music is an emotional release, and it can help you get through some of the struggles that you might be going through, right? I hear a lot of times that, our music gets them through, dark times, whether it's suicidal or whether it's, a bad breakup or just a bad situation, that our music can entertain them enough to forget about all that stuff. And it gets them through those times. And that's as well as myself, but it's also gotten me into some, difficult situations. And one of them, of course, being the infamous lawsuit, the trademark lawsuit of the Fear Factory name, which lasted for almost 5 years. So yeah, being in the music industry has definitely gotten me through some pretty intense moments. Being in this music industry and dealing with, different artists and different musicians, and, they are relationships, and sometimes relationships don't always go the way you think they're going to go, so you have some great times, great situations, and then also some really bad times, you know what I mean? And luckily that the music still can help me overcome everything. Because, I went through a divorce, I went through a bankruptcy, I went through an intense lawsuit where I was financially drained. Sure, I went through all that. But at the end of the day, there have been people who asked me, was it worth it? And I said, you know what? Yeah, it was worth it. You know why? Because I'm still here fucking playing fucking music and talking to Banger TV.
Hell yeah. I love that. Speaking of some of those, struggles and some of the more difficult situations that music can get you into, let's bring it, full circle and talk the now. We're entering, just days away from the release of Aggression Continuum, your 10th record. Getting to this release wasn't easy. I know you just touched on it, but did you maybe want to talk a little bit about some of the adversity faced in getting this record released, how you got through it, and how it feels for, the fans to finally hear it?
Well, it feels very liberating, and it's a sigh of relief that it was finally going to be able to come out as a Fear Factory record. Now, we got into this legal lawsuit back in 2016, or actually 2015, and it lasted all the way up to July 2020. So that's a good amount of years for this lawsuit to keep going on. And of course, it was financially draining. Even all the financial resources that we were getting from the record company pretty much ran out as well. So we managed to finish the record in 2017, and we turned it into the record company. Well, actually, Burton turned it into the record company, and Burton was handling all that situation at that time. But somewhere in between 2017 and 2020, our relationship fell apart, and I had the opportunity to purchase the Fear Factory trademark, and which I was able to do. Of course, depleted me of all my financial resources on that one as well. So somewhere down the line, our singer decided to leave, and that's pretty much, part of the adversity. Here we are with a record, right, that a singer decided to quit, and the record label was like, well, we want to keep his vocals on the record, because at the time I was like, well, I think I should find a new vocalist and just replace his vocals. But the label wanted to keep his vocals, and eventually I agreed. But I wanted to retouch up on some of the elements on the record because remember it was sitting there since 2017. So fast forward to 2020, I ended up starting a GoFundMe campaign, which turned out to be very successful, and was able to use that money to pay for the extra costs on making this record and taking it to the level and the standard and the quality that I wanted this record to be. So I was able to get Andy Steep to mix the record, which was great. Everybody knows Andy Steep. Damien Reynaud, who has been working with the band since 2012. And I ended up getting our drummer, Mike Heller, who's been with the band for 9.5 years. I got him to re-record drums live because on the previous recording, it was just a drum program. And we were just trying to save money going that way. So when I had the opportunity to add that, I wanted to get Mike on the album. He definitely added a vibe to the album. We also worked with 5 different keyboard players on this record, which added the extra nuances and the dynamics that I felt were missing, and put this record together and get it out. And that's what you have now.
Okay, there's so many things I want to talk about in everything you just said.
I know there's question on every part, right?
Yeah, like absolutely. So I think it's really interesting, this concept of sitting on songs for so long. I know that you added real drums, but in post with technology, you can literally change a song after it's recorded completely. I'm wondering how drastic some of these changes were. Did the time sitting on the record really change your perspective on the songs, or is everything more minor and more production and more sprinkles on top?
Well, it definitely added more to the dynamics, especially when you added the drums. It added more feel, because we were using drum programs. That's nothing new. A lot of million bands use it. Probably half those records there are probably drum program you got behind you. But
Godflesh is on there, so definitely some drum programming.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely knew that it needed that live drum vibe. Now we've done that in the past, and back in 2012 we released a record called The Industrialist, and it had drum programming on it. And basically our fans pretty much canceled culture of that record. You know what I mean? It didn't do very well. They weren't really happy about it. Yeah, and you would think like a band like Fear Factory, you know what I mean? How ironic that, you know what I mean? That we couldn't use a drum program. Anyway, so I didn't want to repeat that again. So bringing Mike in, just adding to those extra dynamics and those feels and just his vibe and his intensity definitely added to the song. So in a way, it changed the vibe of the songs. It made it better to me. You know what I mean? And then, incorporating other keyboard players and different perspectives of how they see certain song parts. And, Reese Fulber, fellow Canadian.
He's a long time collaborator with you, right?
Yeah, since 1992, pretty much. You know what I mean? He's been like the 5th Beatle, the 5th guy. And another thing too is like I was able to go back and I was able to change the guitar tone. And I wanted to get a fatter tone with still having that edge on the top. And I think adding that and just making it more angrier, more aggressive also added to the dynamics and the nuances of the record as well. We didn't change anything of Burton's vocals. We obviously did do some editing, and I might have flew some parts here and there, but that's really about it. I think the main thing is just the guitars, drums, and the keyboards really added to this record and took it to a whole new level. 5
keyboard players.
5.
That's not because 1 through 4 weren't good enough. That's because everyone brought their own piece of their own piece of ingredient to the pie for you.
Pretty much. There's a guy named Giuseppe Bassi. He's based out of Italy, and he's kind of more of a modern guy, right? So I sent a couple of songs to him, and he was like, and his perspective on how the song should go with the keyboards was like, wow. So we incorporated that. I had Igor. He's a Russian keyboard player from a band called Yes.
Like the Yes.
The Yes, yeah. He did a lot of songs like Recode, Collapse, Fuel Injected, Suicide Machine. And this is out of his element. He's in a band called Yes.
Prog rocking.
Yeah, prog rock. Here he is, working on this fucking ripping fucking Fear Factory record. And it was cool because he's so gifted. He really got it. If you listen to songs like Recode, you hear those intense symphonic, orchestral keyboards and strings just adding to the whole movie-esque type of sound on that song, you know?
You also mentioned earlier the crowdfunding thing. And I know that crowdfunding, not just in your situation, but in a lot of situations, there's a divide. Half the industry seems to think it's an awesome idea and a great way for fans to get involved, and half the industry thinks it's a cop-out. I want to get your take on your experience with crowdfunding, the fans who were part of it, and in general, where does crowdfunding fit into this modern industry, this ever-changing music industry we're in?
Well, it's been going on for quite some time, you know, crowdfunding, you know, and I've seen some bands become very, very successful on their crowdfunding, getting like, you know, $300,000 to make a record. And I think it's great. I think it's a way for the fans to help. And it could be $5, it could be $1, it could be $1,000, whatever you want to throw in. And remember, I had just gone bankrupt. So I was like, fuck, where am I going to get money to do this, you know, adding live drums and getting Andy Steep and so on. So I decided to do a GoFundMe campaign, and it was a struggle just dealing with it in the press, you know, on social media. But at the end of the day, we were very successful. And I thank all those people who contributed to that GoFundMe campaign, because I was able to complete the record, and people are going to hear it June 18th.
And they will forever be able to play that record and feel like they were a part of it. I'm all for the crowdfunding thing, and I think it's an awesome way to get super fans involved.
Yeah, and there's been some people like, "Yo, man, I fucking gave you $5. Where the fuck's the record?"
Yeah, that's the best.
I laugh at that stuff. It's hilarious.
It's like in a world where, you know, everyone Amazon Primes everything. It's like, dude, I ordered this 8 minutes ago. Where the fuck is it?
I haven't gotten the email for the shipping yet. What's going on?
You guys ripping me off or what?
That's the beauty and the demise of the social media. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. At the time that this record was completed, you were just wrapping up demanufactured anniversary shows. I can't help but wonder if playing those old songs again and doing that album every night kind of crept its way into the writing or into, you know, the creation of what would become Aggression Continuum.
The first thing is, you know, demanufacture, obviously, all the records are in us. It's in me, right? Especially when I write the music. It's all in me. And sometimes I can go back and look at those records and maybe somehow, you know, maybe take something from what I created in the past and be able to use it into the future, right? I'm not necessarily talking about a riff, but maybe more like a structure. I've been lucky that I have a great body of music that I can go back and do that. But Demanufacture is one of those records that 90% of those songs are somewhere in the set list, right? Even the deep cuts. So I didn't really have to go back and relearn those songs because we've been playing them since the time it came out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It was just doing it in order.
Yeah, we're just basically doing it in order. But no, I mean, yes and no, because I could say that, like I said earlier, you know, I created those. Those are my babies. I never forget them. But again, every record, I feel like I need to prove myself. You're always going to have those doubters and those haters. There's always going to be people who actually motivate me. It motivates me even more because I want to prove the doubters wrong. It's not only to them, but it's also to myself. Like, how far can I go with this sound? All that plays into a factor of how I write records and how I create records. There's so much detail that I could talk about that could probably bore you. But
I mean, no, it doesn't bore me. It actually really excites me to hear someone talk, you know, the fact that you still refer to all your music as like your babies, your songs are your babies, and the fact that you still listen to them, that really gets me excited, and I love hearing that shit. That's the kind of passion that I love to see in someone I admire.
Yeah, I mean, even when I go to a club, even when I go to a bar, you know, they're playing Fear Factory, you know, especially out here, there's a club called the Rainbow Bar and Grill. You might have heard of it.
I never heard of that one, actually. Maybe you could tell me about it.
Even just walking in there and somebody's playing Fear Factory on a jukebox, you know, it's like, hey, that's my shit. I love it.
It's something with Fear Factory that's always been there, and I kind of want to know how it grows on this record. These concepts of man versus machine. In the 80s, it was awesome. In the 90s, it was awesome. But now in the 2000s, it's getting a little scary because it's becoming more real. With the advances in AI, shit like Terminator isn't that fucking far-fetched anymore. I want to know how, the concept of cyber metal grows and continues on this record.
Simple thing is, how, social media, how much it's changed the world. From day one, we were like, okay, we got this name Fear Factory. What does it mean? It means anything that manufactures fear. So that could be a lot of things. It could be politics, politicians, government, it could be religion, church, and it could be technology. But we really honed in on the technology. Back in the 80s and 90s, they were talking about Big Brother being watched. Now every one of our cell phones is fucking watched.
We love having them watch us.
Yeah, the thing about it is like we're just giving it away. We're giving it away. You have a cell phone, you have no choice. They're watching you. Maybe you were Google searching something, then all of a sudden you go to Facebook and you see a pop-up ad of what you were looking for. Those algorithms know what they're doing.
If I don't have an ad on Facebook for the new Fear Factory record after this, then, AI is not doing its job.
Exactly. What the fuck? But yeah, we've always sang about the relationship between human and the AI. And through the album, it's the perspective of each side. So you hear like disruptor. That's trying to disrupt the system, trying to stop the process of what's going on. Aggression Continuum is where it's the title track. It's in the beginning. You see you hear a conversation between an AI and a human, and the human's trying to tell the AI, look, you're just a machine. That's just the relationship going all through the whole record.
That's awesome. I'm like stoked to dig into these songs in just a couple days. If all your songs are your babies, which of your babies are you most excited for the fans to meet on this album cycle, and why?
Well, I'm excited them to hear the whole record.
Good answer.
I'll tell you why. Okay, when I sequence a record, I look at it as a song. The record has its peaks and valleys, right? And that's kind of like how I write a song. Because when I write a song, it's all about tension and release. Building that tension and then, having that release be that chorus. And that's the contrast that I like that go through a song or go through a whole record. So to me, the whole record is just an amazing song that you need to experience.
That is a great answer. Everyone would have tried to pitch the single on me. You're trying to pitch the whole album on me because you're proud of your goddamn work, and I love that.
Of course.
Love that.
If you would have interviewed me back, in 1992, I would have told you the same story.
What can people expect from Fear Factory moving forward with this album cycle? And beyond. What's the blueprint?
I will tell you exactly what people need to look out for in the future. A lot of fucking more ripping riffs and a lot of sick fucking drum beats. A lot of the electronic elements. I'm not going to change my formula drastically. I'm going to keep the tradition of what I started from way back 1990 to now. We have a distinctive sound. We have a distinctive style. So I'm going to keep going with that because that's what I love to do.
Your lyrics and intro tracks are still going to scare the shit out of me.
I hope so.
10 Fear Factory records, countless other projects, 30 years in the music industry, all the highs, the lows, and all the bullshit to go with it. What keeps you motivated to fight this hard for Fear Factory when I know there were moments where it would have been easier to just walk away?
Very easy question. The love and the passion for what I create. Just never giving up. In life, there's always going to be challenges and struggles, and this is just part of it. But I don't give up on what I started. I don't give up on what I created. It's still what's in me. It's in my heart. It's the love for aggressive music. Ultimately, what it is putting the smile on the listener's face, that other people enjoy your music. That becomes therapeutic for them. And that's ultimately why I'm still here. I never gave up, never going to give up. And that's it.
Dino, been a fan for a long time. Thank you so much for the time today. Everybody pick up Aggression Continuum out June 18th, Nuclear Blast Records. Dude, been a pleasure chatting today.
I'll see you later.